Hey folks, welcome to where I do my CSS battles. These are CSS battles from the past, daily targets from March 13th, March 14th, and March 15th of 2024. Let's get right to it. I'm feeling inclined today to do all of this on the body with as few gradients as possible. And the way I'm going to do this is with a common linear gradient to start with. So we're going to call this linear gradient is a linear gradient which is coming in at a 90-degree angle and has this dark blue to start and then transparent. Okay, so those are the parts, and I think that the width of this dark blue part is what? It's from 100 to 140, so it's 40 pixels. Okay, so if I put this on the body, and I need a semicolon there, if I put this on the body, that's what I get, so I need that. Okay, and then if I have in the far background the light blue, then that's how I get that. If I do this twice, I don't get anything in particular. That's the same thing. But what if I alter the background position and alter the height of the element? So if I alter the background position, if I move this one over to 100 pixels, I get that. So I've got it twice, and there's the background position. So here, that's the approach I'm going to take. Now, I can also, after the slash, I can set a height on the element, or I can set a width as well. So what I want is 100%, and then let's say I make it 40 pixels tall, and then I make it no repeat. Then I get that. So right there, it's in the center. If I put a 0 as the background position, then it's there at the top. And that's what I want. So I want to make this as tall as it could be to cover, again, my goal is to cover as much of this as possible. 120, 30, 40, 50, 55, 160. That could be right. And then what if I let it repeat on the x-axis? So right now that width is a little bit wrong, so let's have it be what? Now I get stripes by changing the width of that border. There it is. And it looks like I'm a little too tall there. So I'm gonna make that 150 instead, because I think that's correct. And then I can do the same thing with this guy. I'm gonna just copy and paste it because, you know, reuse what you've got. Now there's no difference there, but if I move that down, and then I don't do the repeat. So let's do the other parts of this. So that is. If I move it over a little more, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There it is. And I'm going to need to move it down 100 pixels downward. And in this case, I'm good. All I need is to change the background position, and then the default size is the size of our container, which is 400 by 300. And we don't have any other elements squishing it down. Right, if we had elements that were making this page longer, well, you get a scroll bar, as you do, you know, on most of the web. Pages have a little taller than they are wide. All right, so that's the first part. And then I think is that maybe we could put this down a little, make this height a little bit different. Probably 10. The positioning rather. 70. There it is. So now we've got the other parts of this. So this is what those backgrounds are. All right, so what's next? How about a radial gradient? And because these are behind, I can do I can do kind of the same trick. So I'll call this --r for radial gradient. It's maybe not great nomenclature. Radial gradient, circle, and as I think of it, probably that's not going to work. As I think it through. Because why? Because this number is going to be different, right? That's the thing that's different. So let's not even bother making a variable if we know we're not going to need it or we're not going to use it. So radial gradient circle. There's my little circle, and we need to move it down, right? So it's right now, we can just do 0, 10 pixels, 20 pixels, and that's moving it on the y-axis, and that seems to be correct. Again, that's what we got so far, and then we need another radial gradient to do the other curve. Circle again, this color again, and this is the last thing we need to add, so we can put this color back here. So we get that. You know, when you use the word gradient, you think of that, the diffuse color spread, right? That's what that is. But with color stop, you could make those hard edges or harder edges. There's still some times when you're going to see some pixelation, or the rendering engine doesn't do quite as good a job. But in this case, what I want to do is have 3 colors, right? Because we have the inner curve that's light blue, this stripe or border, or however you want to think about that curve, is the darker, and then the light blue again. So we need all 3 of those colors. So let's do that. And I'm going to guess that's like 50 pixels. And then color stops, 100 pixels. I'm missing a comma probably. There we go. So we can kind of see that. And it looks like it's dead center, so that's great for us. And then we have this other bonus part. it's a halfway. So I miscalculated. So what do I need to do? Because so the center of that is different, so we can't use the same linear gradient, unfortunately. Yeah, we can't use the same, and I'll show you that. If I do yellow, 10 pixels, comma, you'll see that the center of that yellow is different. So to make that change, we need to make that circle be at a particular spot. So it's at 50% is the middle on the x-axis, and then if it's at the top, it's 0. Right? So there's our curve. And then when we move that down, then we see what we want to see. So again, that's background position there. I'm using the abbreviated background syntax, which has got background, well, we got the image object, which in this case is a gradient. Background position is 2 numbers, x and y, and then a size is 2 numbers, 2 CSS sizes, length units. There are other words you can use there. You can use contain, you can use spacing, contain and cover, yeah, like that, and then different kinds of repeat, so background repeat. But I'm doing the abbreviated syntax because it's code golf and I want to do as little as possible. All right, so let's submit that. I don't think I've submitted. make sure that we're 100% match. We are. I believe we can also use the ampersand selector instead of body because we don't have any other guys happening there. And then I, snip and tuck at the other pieces of code in this. And unit replacement saves me even more characters, and let's resubmit. And that gets it done. Very fun to do this in this way. I've been leaning more heavily on elements, and so border radius and those kinds of things. But it's fun to do it as all gradients sometimes. No conic gradients in this case, but still pretty fun. All right, next. This guy, I think. So one of my least favorite ways to make these things is to use borders. But I think that in this case, there's a strong argument to be made that that's actually the way to go. So if I do no background and I create this element and I create a height to it, and I don't know, what's the height there? Like 50 or something? Might be 100. And then I do a border of solid, and then I do not and like so. There's our border. So as you can see, it's sort of this odd. I'm gonna do a margin of 0 auto, so it's centered. And right now it's got a width. If I do a width of 0, what do we get? We get that. So what if I do a border color? So I'm going to do one color there. What if I add colors? You see those little yellow nubs? We get that. Okay, so now I'm going to do border width. And I believe I can do this with 2 units. Let's do, 50 and 30? Then we get that shape. So then how do we do these multiple colors? I believe we alternate the colors. And so that's the technique for doing this. Not one of my favorite things. It's a little hard to reason about, and like, how are you going to get the shape and the angles and those things? I definitely prefer the mathematics of a conic gradient better. But this is working, right? Like, I understand this is a border, it's solid, it's got 0 widths, so with a width, the paragraph element is going to take as much space as it can. But in this case, we do that. Okay, so let's adjust these heights. So or border widths specifically, right? So that's the height of the top border and the side borders. And you could do 4 of them, but that's not what we want here. It looks like it's symmetrical. 6, 7, 8, 9, 100, and 4, 5, 6, 7, 75. Is that it? Pretty good, right? It's a neat technique. There are a number of flags that essentially have this shape. And that is the solution. So I think, so if I do width 0 mark, so if I do no margins on this, can I do it? Can I get this done? That's what I'd like to see. So I'm removing the margin from the body and I guess in theory, I'm not going to do that. I was thinking about, so the HTML element is also a thing that we can use sometimes. Now, there's your HTML body. So is that the way to do it? If I do that, can I get it? Maybe. Again, I don't feel super excited about doing it that way. I don't like mangling the HTML element because there's no element there, right? It's conceptually that root element doesn't feel like an element to me. even though it's a special case. But if I do margin -8 and then auto, does that do it? Almost. How about 0 auto? Do I need more height? So is it -6? What's the number? Margin 0 auto. Does that do it? Let's submit that and see if we get what we want. And I believe we can use what? Ampersand and then star. Yeah, no, we don't want that because then the style element becomes an element. But that's fine. That's fine just as it is. I'm content with that. So let's minify, and there's your solution. Resubmitting, make sure we're 100%. I kind of don't trust that this worked precisely correctly, but there it is. Because there are hash marks there, you can actually remove the spaces before the hash marks and then resubmit. I think that's it. I think that's all the things. It's also possible we can remove this width and then push inward, right? So make these side margins some number. 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 110, 20, 125. So that's even shorter code, right? What else can we remove? I think that's where I would max out. I guess I could remove the very last brace. Also feels like sort of a subversion, but this is an example of it's a simple enough example that I can deploy some of the techniques that some of the best CSS Battle players deploy, which is to really remove as much as humanly possible. That's how it goes. All right, and then lastly today is this part of an emergency cone, and I think for this guy this is 3 elements. I mean, he definitely feels like B, A, B, and C elements. All right, so what are the things that we need to do? Each one of these has margins, and then I'm gonna not talk too much. Our color A has a color of this dark. The body has this background. B has a color of this lighter orange. And I'll add semicolons because I don't know what all I'm going to add, but I'm going to add a few things. And then the final one has a color of... All right, so all these elements they're similar, but they're not the same. So let's put a var of a margin. They're all going to need margins to constrain their width and make sure that they appear where they need to. So that's pretty good. The height of that, I think, is also a var. Each one of the heights of this is different. H. 100, 120, 30, 40, 50, 60. And then the margins here. 110, 115. No, 110. All right. So the margins on the second one are what? 0, and then it's minus 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, and then the height is also a little shorter. Dash dash H is 10 or something, 20, 50. All right, so we're basically just squeezing in the sizing here. All right, and then the final one is also has a height of 20, I believe. And believe me, I haven't forgotten about the sides. Haven't forgotten about any of those things. So let's get to it. All right. Okay. So we need margins to be set for the C element. 0, 0, and there it is. It's got a currently got the negative margin, I believe, or no, it's got a 50 margin. So let's do 20, 30, 40, 50. Okay, so that's where we are now. So what's next? What are the ways that we can do? I think it's pretty clear that we need border radius on the bottom. And so we do that by accomplishing that there. And I think we can use a Q unit there. Yeah, we'll use 10Q rather than 10 pixels, which also works. Q, the number is greater than I think than we need, so 9 is kind of not big enough. Yeah. Okay, so how do we do this guy here? How do we do these things? My first inclination is clip path. So why not do that? Sure. Clip path is polygon and 4 points, so it's like 30 pixels, 30% over 0, 70% over 0, 100%, 100%, 0, 100%. That's 4 points. Are they right? Are they nailed? Maybe not. How about this 31, 29, 28, 28.5. 28.5 is good, but that's kind of not a great number, is it? That's less good than, say, 50 pixels. How about 20Q? Let's do a Qs. 3, 4, 5, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 48. Let's try 48Q. And we'll do 100Q. That's probably more like, what, 90? Nope. It's more 100, 21Q. I think we've got a problem with this edge, and we're not going to be at 100%. So I think we're going to go with pixels there, if that's the case. Nope, that's 100%, and we will take it. We're not going to mess around. All right, so what can we optimize for? I think if we default this color, we can remove that. We need margins. We need heights. These margins are all slightly different, so we'll leave those alone, because we could do just margin tops, right? But not an optimization I care about. But a fun one, very straightforward. Let's resubmit. And we have made that shape, that bottom of an emergency cone. So that's a fun one, and that's a higher score than I've gotten in the past too. So it's fun. This is part of the reason I enjoy revisiting these, is I can do them more efficiently. And when I have to talk through them, I feel like I learn a little bit more each time. You know, get that exercise, that CSS muscle, if such a thing exists. All right, so this was a fun one with the multiple background gradients. This was a fun one, you know, visiting the borderland and then using the HTML and the element and the body element to do this, and using this border trick to get a very short code to get, you know, this ridged element or hallway, or however you want to look at it, and then the code which we just looked at. All right, thanks for watching. Enjoyable set of CSS Battles. I'm 60-something% through doing videos for all these videos. If you enjoy them, let me know. I'm kind of doing this all for myself, but if you appreciated this video, say so somewhere. You send me an email, however you want to do it, or not. That's fine too. Just pass it around. If you got something out of it, maybe somebody else got something out of it too. Or you hated it, I guess you could pass it along too, and make fun of me or whatever, my bad haircut or not shaving. Or anyway, have a great day. Bye.